Hi guys, today we're going to take a look at the idea of how to put together a good presentation using something like Google Slides or PowerPoint, for example. I am using Google Slides as it's fairly easy to use and it is easily accessible as well, as you can create free accounts. So when we set up our Google slide, right, we are sort of faced with a blank canvas, which is good because that gives us a lot of flexibility, right? And we do have the option of selecting a variety of different themes through a themes palette as well. And if you really want to get adventurous, you can import themes as well. Now, you have to be really careful using these themes because some of them are very busy, right? And by that, I mean there's a lot of color, there's a lot of text, there's a lot of graphics. So if you're going to use those themes, you have to be really, really careful. So what we're going to take a look at today is just sort of doing a very basic, clean, simple design and using the principles of contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And if you aren't familiar with those principles of design, I suggest that you check out our other video on that topic. So our first slide that we need to be able to create is a title slide, right? And as you can see, this is a fairly kind of typical, simple, boring image for the viewers to see. So you want to make sure that you're creating a fairly interesting title, right? And more often than not, you're going to want to include a subtitle as well. Right? Often what I see are a lot of people putting their names down in here, and that's a possibility as well. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to just take a quick look at how we might be able to use this basic kind of overall structure that is provided to us under slide, apply layout, right? This is just the basic clicked title slide that we can get in Google Slides. All right, so we're going to play around with this. When I click on the objects, you'll see that there are blue boxes that appear around each one. Right, and these are the bounding boxes in terms of how text and images, etc., will interact with the rest of the space. Now, what's really important for us to realize is that Google has a very, really powerful tool, and that is the alignment tool. Right, so as I'm moving and clicking things around, right, I get these red lines to tell me that there is a good alignment between two different objects, right? And so in this case, it's telling me that my two objects here are centered one over top of each other. Okay. Alternatively, sometimes we're going to have boxes that are different sizes to each other. So if I click and drag this around, you're going to see that that red line appears again indicating that those two are centered. But that tool also helps if I'm going to be dragging this over. Now I have right alignment and left alignment. Okay? And the same principles work in the vertical orientation as well, right? You'll get guides to tell you. The other important element here for us to be thinking about, and I'm just going to get this put back into the center, right, is that if we start adding elements in, right, we can start getting what we call proximity guides, right? So there we go. We saw the alignment guide, which is red, and if I start moving this around, you'll see that I have blue lines appearing now. And what those are doing is they're telling me that the space or the proximity between the two between the various visual elements in the composition are evenly spaced apart. And this is a huge part of effective design, is because you want that structure, that visual structure that uniform proximity provides, because it makes it much easier for the presentation to be viewed. All right, so if I quickly just kind of rearrange some of this here, I personally feel that having a graphic in the title page is quite helpful. It sort of helps set the tone for the overall presentation. Right, so the other thing to keep in mind is how the text is being oriented, right? And under the text alignment tool, we have the left, center, right, and justified options, as well as the top, middle, and bottom, right? And typically on a title page, I would be aligning these into the center. Okay, so our title is nice and big. We have our subtitle, and we can easily insert an image, and Google is great because it also allows us to quickly search the web. And I'm going to see if I can just find a picture of an artist, George Littlechild, for example. There we go. Pick him up. Right. None of this is George Littlechild's work. So what about Jacob Lawrence? Let's take a look for him. Jacob Lawrence. He was a Harlem Renaissance painter from New York City. Paintings. Here we go. We got a whole bunch here. That's odd. And his work isn't showing up either. Very interesting. Okay, so let's we'll select an image here that is about the Manifest Destiny. It's a very interesting social justice image. So here we go. We've got our title, right? And I get my guide that pops up that tells me that it is aligned properly. But the problem is that I'm not seeing the entire image. So what I'm going to do is double click, and now I have the cropping tool, and I'm going to be able to then enlarge the image and then reposition. And so what I'm going to be doing here is creating a detail of a larger photo or a artwork or image, right? And it's going to be important for me to be also acknowledging that this is not the entire visual image, right? And so I'm going to place this in, making sure that it covers the entire width, and I'm going to reposition it so that it looks a little bit better. Okay, and click outside the image, and we have our graphics set up. Okay, so now, right, as I said, it's important for us to be captioning our work. So down, typically in the bottom right-hand corner, we're going to make this text much smaller, about 8. And again, we want to make sure that the text is centered within the box. And a caption, we will also be right aligning, right? And what we're going to include here is the artist's name, comma, the title of the artwork, right? And you'll notice that that is in italics. And then we're gonna put the date in brackets. Okay, so just to make sure that we're acknowledging the images that we are borrowing. Now, the important thing here too is that captions don't need to have the same visual intensity as the main text on a slide. So what I'm going to do here is change the text to a medium gray, right? So that the information is there, but it isn't dominating the eye as we're looking, but people can access the information as well. Okay, so we can set up a title, fairly easy, right? It's a very clean, simple design, but helps to create some emphasis. Of course, picking an image that helps to connect to what it is that you're going to be talking about. The other thing that we need to be aware of are some basic text features that you could potentially include or utilize in order to help make sure that you're not putting too much information on the screen. Right? So each slide should have a header, and this will typically be bolder, bigger, heavier text, and it sits typically up at the top. And then in the main body, and this is what we call this text box here, the body of our information, right, is a little bit smaller. You'll notice that their color is grayed out a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. But the important thing here is that we have bullets, right? We're not writing everything out in full sentences, and you can also use sub-bullets as well. Also, if there is a key idea or a key term that you want to be utilizing, please make sure that you're using text features, right? Important concepts can be bolded, italicized, or underlined, right? And just providing those simple visual cues helps us to understand that there is something important that we need to be paying attention to as an audience, right? as we've talked about before, using graphic elements is really important. Right? So if you have an image in here, if you right click, right, you can use the replace image option, and again you can come in and we can search the web, or if you have your images already downloaded, we can do let's see if we can find let's find another artist. George Littlechild didn't work, and Jacob Lawrence didn't work. So let's try Kerry James Marshall. And the reason that I am kind of surprised is that I am picking artists that are either Indigenous or Black, and I am not seeing their work coming up. So this is an interesting feature in this Google search, is that it is not selecting or searching those artists, even though I know I'm spelling the names of the artists correctly. So make sure that you're aware of potential limitations that this tool has, and you might need to be doing a full Google search, right? So you can just simply replace some of these images as well, right? And it will conform to the box that you already have in place. Okay, like always, make sure that you are putting some sort of caption, and we want to make sure that those are center aligned and that the text color is just a little bit lighter, right? Just so that it's there, but it's not dominating. Okay. Lastly, when you are putting your information in, I want you to think that you should have a maximum of 6 bullets and sub-bullets per slide, and that you want to try and limit the number of words that you have on each bullet line as well, right? So you should have about 36 words per slide. And the reason is that this is a guide for your audience to kind of follow along with what you are saying. We are not reading from the text off the slides. You are expanding on the key ideas that are listed, because the important information is what you have been able to synthesize, and you are going to communicate that orally. The PowerPoint is merely a supplement in order to provide yourself and your audience with a sort of guide as to how the presentation is going to unfold. Okay, so with that, please make sure that you're thinking about the design of your Google slide for your presentation, and keep it simple, right? You can use the complex themes, but be careful that you're not picking something that's too gaudy. Sometimes simple is best. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. Good luck. I can't wait to see what you are able to create for your presentations for me. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.